Today, we're diving into one of the most precise and, frankly, amazing processes in all of human biology, the menstrual cycle. And I want you to forget what you think you know. This is way more than just a monthly event. It's a perfectly orchestrated hormonal symphony. It's like a complex mission the body undertakes with incredible precision every single month.
But that begs the question, right? How does the body pull this off? How does it run this intricate 28-day clock, making sure every single step happens at exactly the right time in the right order? Well, that's the puzzle we're going to piece together.
And this graph right here, this is going to be our map for the entire journey. It shows the whole story we're about to unfold, tracking the 4 key hormones and all the changes happening in the ovary and the uterus. We'll be coming back to this map a lot as we navigate each phase of the cycle.
So, our story begins, just like any good symphony, with the orchestra tuning up. Act 1 is all about preparation. It's where the key players get the signal to start the performance, and this first phase really sets the stage for everything that comes after. The command centers for this whole operation are the pituitary gland, which is this tiny but super powerful structure in the brain, and of course, the ovaries. These two are in constant communication, sending hormonal signals back and forth to keep the whole cycle moving forward.
So the first signal, think of it like the tap of the conductor's baton, comes from a hormone called FSH, or follicle-stimulating hormone. FSH is our conductor. It gets released by the pituitary gland, travels down to the ovaries, and has one simple instruction. It's time to begin. It tells one of the ovarian follicles to start growing up.
Now, as that follicle in the ovary starts to grow, it begins to play its own tune. It starts producing our second key hormone, estrogen. So if FSH is the conductor, estrogen is the first instrument we hear. And its main job is to prepare the uterus. It causes the uterine lining, also known as the endometrium, to start thickening up, basically getting a nice cozy room ready for a potential guest.
So let's just quickly trace that perfect cause and effect chain one more time. The pituitary gland sends out FSH, our conductor. FSH tells an ovarian follicle to mature. That maturing follicle then produces estrogen. And estrogen gets the uterus ready by thickening its lining. It's a perfect sequence, and it all happens in about the first 11 days of the cycle.
Okay, the stage is set, the uterus is prepared, and the follicle is mature. It is time for the climax of the first half of the cycle, the moment everything has been building towards. Let's move on to Act 2, the main event. And this main event is triggered by one thing and one thing only, a dramatic, sharp, and incredibly important spike in a third hormone. It is known as the LH surge. If our hormonal orchestra has been building to a crescendo, then luteinizing hormone, or LH, is the massive cymbal crash. Remember that rising estrogen? Well, it eventually reaches a peak, and that peak sends a signal back to the pituitary gland to release a huge surge of LH right around day 14. This sudden spike is the direct trigger for the most pivotal moment of the cycle.
So what does this cymbal crash actually do? Well, first, it causes that mature follicle to rupture. Second, this rupture releases the egg from the ovary, and that's the moment we call ovulation. And finally, the LH surge triggers a cool transformation, turning the empty follicle that's left behind into a brand new temporary structure called the corpus luteum.
Okay, so after all the drama and excitement of ovulation, the symphony kind of shifts its tone. The pace slows down, and we enter a new phase. Act 3 isn't about action. It's all about maintenance and waiting. It's the waiting game.
Remember that new structure, the corpus luteum? It now takes center stage, and it starts producing our fourth and final key hormone, progesterone. Progesterone's job is to maintain the status quo. It keeps that thickened uterine lining stable and receptive, just holding the rhythm steady while the body waits to see if that released egg has been fertilized.
So progesterone is a real multitasker. Its first job is to keep that lush, thickened endometrium going. But its second job, and this is just a brilliant piece of biological engineering, is that high levels of progesterone send a negative feedback signal all the way back to the pituitary gland, telling it, hey, hold on, don't release any more FSH. We're busy right now. This is what prevents a new cycle from starting while this one is still playing out.
And that brings us to the finale. The waiting game can only last for so long. At the end of the cycle, the path splits. There are 2 possible outcomes, 2 different endings to our symphony. But what's really important is that both of these endings lead to a new beginning. This slide lays out the 2 paths perfectly. So on the left, you have path 1. No fertilization happens. The corpus luteum degenerates, progesterone levels just plummet, and without that hormonal support, the uterine lining disintegrates and is shed. That's menstruation.
Then, that drop in hormones signals the pituitary to start releasing FSH again, and the whole symphony starts over. Now on the right, you have path 2. Fertilization does occur. The corpus luteum is maintained, which keeps progesterone levels high to support the early pregnancy until the placenta can take over. The cycle is paused, and a whole new biological process begins.
And that's the cycle, a breathtakingly complex and elegant hormonal dance. And when you stop and think about it, this symphony is being conducted in over 1 billion people around the world at this very moment. Kind of leaves you with a final thought, doesn't it? What other incredible complex symphonies are our bodies conducting every second of every day, completely without us even noticing?